Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, Abby. How are you?
I'm good, Sylvia. How are you?
I'm very well. So let me, guys, introduce you to Abby, who is a very good friend of mine and a colleague of mine. And here today we would like to discuss about the article that I released last weekend, I think. And the article came about because of the continuous conversation between Abby and I and debates about HR and what we do well, what we don't do really well, and what is it that we could do. And during that conversation, it's just by mistake came out, right? That you are
Yeah.
either a HR business partner or a HR partner in crime. And I know your feeling about HR business partner term, and I always laugh. So do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. For me, this whole HR business partner, you know how I feel. If you're becoming a business partner, what were you doing before? That's always been in my mind. And I'm all about transformation and taking things to the next level. But to now start calling the HR function HR business partner leads you to assume you were not partnering with the business before, and leads you to assume that you now need to justify yourself and your function and your work that you do every day by labeling it in a certain way. And I think I know it's just a name, but it is an injustice to the people who are not titled as HR business partners and don't have to be, because that's exactly what they've been doing for the past 20 years or 10 years or 5 minutes, however long they've been in that function, with a proper understanding of what it really means to
Yeah.
be an HR professional.
So, it's so funny because everybody has a very different understanding and take on this term. For me, it's a very complicated term. I can't really get my head around just because the narrative around that term. And a person who I really, really respect, a HR director for a really large corporation, global corporation, she said to me 2 days ago that HR now needs to move on from HR business partner to be part of the business. And I'm like, if Abby heard that, what were you doing before if you were not part of the business? So once again, we're going back to that question, right?
Yeah.
So how would you, I mean, in the article, I really defined HR business partner as, enabling people, the talent pool, to do its job, the best it can. So all the capability development, and HR is really working together with all the stakeholders to make sure that we are compliant, we're driving the business, and really just looking after all the stakeholders. And those who are partnering business, HR partnering crime is really ignore all that and just, shut a blind eye over illegal, immoral, and, all that kind of activities that we often come across with. How would you define that? Or what is your take on the term HR business partner?
I like to think of it as a space remover. So if you think about it, the trouble or the issues start with this gap between the staff and the management, the employee and the organization, and all that is space. And in that space, what comes out of that space is resentment and distrust, etc. So what's HR's job is to make sure there is no space, is to communicate things in a way. One of the first lessons I learned in HR is pitch things to the right level. It's so basic, but it will last me a lifetime, because when you are the HR business partner, that's your job, is pitching the same message to different receivers in a way that they will understand and take action on it. So just, partnering with the business, the numbers, productivity, all of that stuff is a part of partnering with the business. But the first thing for me of being a really successful HR business partner is being able to remove the space between people and between objectives. Okay, how are we getting from point A to point B? So that's what HR is for me.
That's a very interesting one. I never heard of that, removing the space, basically making those connections, right? In between those who are playing part of the business, including human resources.
Exactly.
So here we had plenty of examples, especially I think, not here, everywhere. Last year gave us, abundance of examples what HR, a partner in crime, really means. So the basics are really, which we often come across stories of, more fall onto the illegal activities, holding passports of employees, overtime, holidays, etc., etc. But there are more of those which are not as straightforward, right? And that is not necessarily illegal, but it's just morally wrong. Ethics comes into the picture where, labor law or local law are ending. So the other day, I just had a conversation with somebody and I'm like, this is it. I'm like, this is the perfect example, because the person where HR is partner in crime. So I think we talked about it when the person, one of the hostesses in one of our hotels were let go, right? And her probation was not finalized. And then the poor person wasn't even given the reason why not. And it's illegal? No, it's definitely not. But it's morally wrong, right? Because if I'm terminated for whatever reason, I would like to know why I'm being not qualified for the job, right?
And you know how I feel. Sometimes it's just the wrong fit. But if you're going to be a partner in crime in that situation, you will allow that person to leave your organization without understanding why. And I think when you are in that situation and you are the HR business partner, then you make sure you give that person closure so they can move on. And they may not be the biggest fan of your brand when they leave, or the biggest fan of your company when they leave, because some people don't take responsibility for their actions, for their performance. That's just life, right? And we've all been guilty of it at some point.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, if you're going to be a business partner as opposed to a partner in crime, you can at least bring to that person's awareness, why is this happening to you? This is why this is happening to you. This is why we feel you're not the right fit in the team, because you're for whatever reason, maybe you do stuff that is completely inappropriate all the time, and you've been told time and time again, and you still haven't changed. So I think that's where, for me, there's a big difference between, what to do, we have to do it, versus I'm going to treat everyone with human dignity and bring human dignity into everything I do. Yes, we need to make tough decisions. Yes, we need to execute tough decisions. That's what 2020, was really about, but it was also about unity. If you think about it, it was all about, we're in this together. And how strong were people when they realized that they were not alone? So the HR business partners were the ones who made sure, even if someone was put out of the organization, they didn't feel like they had lost their tribe. And that's what happens to you, right? When you leave your the place that you've been working in, that's your tribe. And then you get told you're not part of the tribe anymore. Where does your mind go? primordial man. Oh my goodness, they cast me out. Now what's going to happen to me? So then, you have a responsibility. If you're going to be an HR business partner in that situation, inject human dignity and give people at least closure.
Absolutely.
In whatever way you can.
And whatever you can do is really doing the right thing. And you might need to do things that people don't like. I mean, nobody likes redundancies. Nobody likes salary cuts. Nobody likes to acknowledge the fact, look, I'm not cut out for this role. I didn't do a good job. And that's okay. You are not always a match. And things do happen, life happens, but how we deliver that message, how we communicate that to people, and what kind of a role model do we play during that time, right? Because if you keep preaching to me about salary cut in order to save the business, then maybe we all have to take part, including the higher management, right? Because the message is really, really is contradictory. So are you trying to save the business on the back of the line stuff, and you no longer the part of the team, or so?
But that's space, right? That's space. And if you're going to be a business partner in that situation, you're going to be like, hey guys, mind the gap.
Absolutely. Literally mind the gap, because that's going to backfire. That's going to cause some problems. Yeah. And I think those are the things that HR needs to come into the picture. And it's not a matter of who I'm serving, whose benefit I'm serving, but doing the right by every stakeholders, right? So if we need to deliver a bad message, then let's do it in a correct way. Now, are they going to stay happy? No, but at least acknowledge. And you know what I noticed heard most of the time when I was working in a corporate office, especially at that level, they keep telling, oh, people will not understand. Well, guess what? People do understand. And I think we should give them more credit than just saying, they will not understand, so let's just give them the minimum information. Now we all know what's going to happen. Now another gap going to come into the picture, because when I don't have a full understanding of something, that space will be filled, and I'm going to start creating my own theories, and then start going around, and this is it. There is no recovery from there, because even after that you start and maybe you decide, okay, let's come out with the real story. Now there has been so many stories going around. Who am I going to believe?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, me and the space, it's all about removing that space. And then again, back to that first lesson I ever learned about pitching things to the right level. If people don't understand what you're saying, maybe you need to look at yourself as opposed to the people receiving the message. So how are you delivering that message? Are you trying to explain a technically, complicated engineering crisis to me, who knows nothing about engineering? Then I definitely, you change how you deliver the information, right? So a lot of the time people say, oh, they wouldn't understand. That's okay, fine. So they won't, because you've decided that already. Done.
Exactly. And people do understand. And there has been many different or many great case studies in the HR world where, employees and employers work together, saving car plants in the UK for instance. So yes, people do understand. We just need to really work with them together. So there are plenty of bad examples, but there are also good examples where HR is acting. Do you have anything from the top of your head that there was a really not the best strategy to implement, but that had to be done? And we did well, or we didn't do well. We could always do better, but at least HR did
not going into specifics, but I think, you know, all the friends who are watching will understand if they were part of the organization when this happened. But I think for me, the biggest thing is getting people away from this employee-employer. And getting, once you get everyone on the same page, something as simple as conserving energy, okay? So energy conservation, not necessarily to save the planet, but more to reduce the bills for the organization. So this particular company made it a company-wide initiative, got everybody on board, incentivized colleagues to come up with ideas, measured the outcome of some of the ideas that were implemented, recognized the employees, and really got everyone on board with all of the benefits that would come as a result of everyone being focused on this one goal. And that example showed me that you can explain things to everyone and everyone will get it. And as long as they understand what's in it for them, they will, of course, definitely be able to come together and you know, be united in making that goal a reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think that even in that particular example, it was quite effective, but getting everyone aligned, getting everyone unified, not everyone's going to see what's in it for them, and you can't take responsibility for that. You know, when it comes to salary cuts, I do believe if you've done your space removal work before, implementing moves like that, then you know, you understand that you've looked at the whole picture of the impact of the decision, of the, you know, benefit to the organization, understanding the sacrifice from the colleagues, and also understanding the fact that you're a colleague, the GM is a colleague, you know, all the colleagues in the hotel are going to make a sacrifice for the sake of ensuring business continuity. And appreciating every single day that goes by where, you know, your colleagues come together and they understand, and you give them this news, and there's going to be a salary reduction for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, every single day, appreciating the fact that it's a contribution to business continuity.
Yeah.
And it's a contribution from every single colleague. Everyone coming together saying, you know what, I love my organization. I definitely want to have a job in the next 6 months. And I understand that this is a painful sacrifice that I need to make for the sake, yes, of the business, but also for the sake of me still being here in the next 1 year or 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the companies had this approach last year, and that was really, really good. But then what they failed at is specifying the timeline. And I had I had conversations with many people, and they were all, I mean, everybody went on salary cuts, right? There was hardly an exception. But there was no timeline. And this is the worst thing, because if you have to stay at home, unpaid salary, okay, that's great. Tell me until when, yeah? If I'm on a 50% salary cut, tell me until when. So once again, this communication, you're not serving. I know that it was very hard to predict what's coming, because I don't think I would have said a year ago that a year later I'm still talking about it, and, you know, still having facing the impact of it. But I think we acted, organizations, very fast. We didn't know what to do. Everybody panicked. And then we just went into a complete freeze mode and shut down everything. There is no salary. Everybody sits at home. And we are not even tell them how long. Now we understand
Yeah.
why it happened, but even if telling people maybe an extended version of it, right? So I'm going to give you a salary cut for 1 year, and then the business recovers for whatever reason. And then 6 months later, maybe you will be able to bring them back to 75% or 100%. You could have turned the whole momentum around, right? But continuing with the uncertainty, I think that was just a massive mistake that we also took part, and not necessarily because we supported this idea, but because we also didn't know what was coming.
Yeah. But I think that's also an answer sometimes. Sometimes I don't know how long this is going to be for, but what I do know is the second that there's an opportunity to change this, we will. And that would give me greater comfort than, why are you asking?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you know what's happening in the world today?
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm pretty sure was never said by any HR professional throughout 2020. Never.
Never. There was a last year, and I got really, really upset. There was a post from Society of Human Resource Management in the States. They posted on Instagram that HR deserves a clap and nobody ever appreciates us.
I remember that.
I'm like, you're so detached from reality. Why your people are not clapping you? Just ask the question rather than demanding this appreciation. So yes, we can go down the wrong road, definitely. But there are really, really good examples. I can give you a lot of examples where HR was really, really great. And you knew that. And why HR was great, because even though we knew that things has to happen, and it was long, long time ago, nothing to do with COVID, then, business restructuring wasn't new. It's not a new theory. Everybody was just so surprised last year. So we always have been through those kind of things. But when HR really played the part, and they really played as a mediator and equalizer kind of role between the stakeholders, or among the stakeholders, is she explained to us black and white with numbers what we're doing and how it's going to, impact the business. And if we reduce not salaries, but the hours that we worked, how is that going to impact? For me, one of the greatest visualization, when she actually put it on the screen, that if we reduce the hours, these are the many colleagues then we can keep. And for me, that was great. Then I really understood, because now it's not, my livelihood is not threatened, because I will have the basics covered with the reduced hours. So you don't have to worry about it psychologically, because the moment you need to start thinking about your survival, nothing else matters. We know that. So they covered that part, allowing us to think about others as well. And that was, for me, absolutely perfect. And HR did very, very well. They could have just come out as, this is it, we're going to do that, etc., etc. No explanation, right? But because they explained, we had such a great understanding. And the morale, the engagement, it didn't drop. I think it even increased for whatever reason. So that was a really good example. There are really good, there are HR business partners out there, and there are also who are part in, committing crime against the workforce sometimes. But next time, I think probably we could talk about the reasons why HR is sometimes being, or deciding, or maybe just by mistake falling, being part of what is not really a good thing to do. And because of the lack of trust that we have towards HR.
Yeah, and maybe the lack of confidence that the HR have in themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a really good conversation topic. So lack of trust in themselves and the lack of trust, from the other stakeholders. Well, Abby,
Oh yeah.
thank you so much. I think that's a good
Thank you.
introduction. And whoever hasn't read the article, that's on LinkedIn, and I'm going to post.
Please read it.
Yes. And decide for yourself. I think whether you are a HR business partner or HR partner in crime, because change comes with awareness and acknowledging the fact that, hey, I am contributing to this.
And you can be both. Acknowledging you can be both. Acknowledging you can be, in many situations wearing different hats.
Absolutely. And as you said last time, and I really like that, rehabilitation process needs to start once we acknowledge, not blaming, going back, oh my God, I'm doing this, I'm doing, that's fine, it's done, let's move on from here. But the first is really to acknowledge the fact. Great, so it's a good place to stop and speak to you next time.